what I'm going to talk about today is just a quick project that I'm working on. This group here has a consent form, and this really is, I mean, they didn't ask me to do this, but I figured it was something to, be creative and try. So what I did was try to figure out how to use this little face icon um, in their instrument, because they use it for, it's kind of like a bullet point. So what I did was, let me get onto my screen here, and anybody who's been on this red zone, in the past has probably seen the way I do things with images. I first like to upload it to a site called Imager, and you basically just drag a new post in. You drag the image here and create, you take, like what I did was I got into Photoshop and I just cropped this out and saved it. And then I uploaded it into Imager here. And what it does is Imager gives you a link basically to the post for the image. And let me open up, I have a notepad where I have the link. Or actually I can just open it in here. So that's how it's uploaded on Imager. Now, you have to make sure that you get the image, because this is the post. So if I just took this Imager link, it's going to grab this whole post, but I only want this image that they've uploaded to their servers. So what I usually do is I'll just right click on this and open in a new tab. And that's what gives me this URL, the i.imager.com ping. And I'll put that in a notepad somewhere. And so what I did in this, you can see here I used the rich text editor, and I basically just created a table with 2 columns, and the leftmost column where I'm going to have these bullet points is where I put this image. Now you can't just copy and paste the image in there. You have to use HTML. So what I did was, for this first one here, you just set the image tag, and that's when, and I put in, REDCap puts all this in for you, the display block, margin left, all that stuff. All I did was put the URL in the source here, and then I just added the width and the height because I wanted it to be the exact size, the image to be the exact size of what the image is, so it doesn't stretch or shrink or whatever. And I set this table cell here to a width of 110 pixels to give it a little bit of padding on the left and the right. And then the next thing I did was just add the text for the, the heading for the research study. And in the headings, what I've done is added some styling here for for the text. So that way it's 18-point font, so it's bigger. And, it says the font weight here is normal, but I'm using the HTML tags of M for italicized text and strong for bold text. You can set that here in the CSS styles, but I'll just do this here. Sometimes it's easier to just wrap the tags around them. And I did the same thing for the fonts here to make them stand out as headers. They're bold and italicized, and then the regular text is just a little bit bigger. So this is what it looks like on their consent form now. And their consent form is 3 pages. So what I've done is I've taken the, let me get out of this. So I've taken each page and I've added a new section here. and I've given it the page headers. So this is their form name, and this is their version. And this is nice because then if they ever update the version, they can come in here and add and change this. Because we've had some people who have consent forms like this, and they basically, what they'll do is they'll just take a screenshot or an image of this consent, and they'll just put it in as a descriptive text field. So then you would see the consent as it's being displayed, but it's being displayed as an image. So then if they have to update the version, they can't just go in and change the text to whatever was changed in the version or that kind of thing. They have to basically take an entire new picture and put that in there and replace it. And if their consent has multiple pages, they have to do that for every one, and it's kind of a pain to, you know, keep track of what you've done. So in my opinion, it's nice to have everything is text, because then you can just go in and edit the text and then just update the versions here if you need to. And so I have each page broken up by a section, and I set the survey to where it only displays one section at a time. So then if I click next page here, it's going to show the rest of the text. And then finally, when you get to the end here, it asks you if you want to participate, and you just say yes or no. And then you have a signature here, and then you would type in the name of the participant, and then you would submit it. So it's just a simple way to add an image as a bullet point icon if you want. You could also add it if you just had, you know, any other image you wanted to add. We've had some groups where they have like pathology images. They're trying to show, we had one group that had a bunch of skin abnormalities, and the person had to go through and click on like the diagnosis for those. It was almost like a test or like a quiz. They would have to say, you know, there'd be a picture of somebody with, you know, some sort of skin rash, and next to it would be the questions with the answers, and you'd have to say, like, you know, in this picture, identify what this is. So, you know, it's a way to add an image without having to just use the image descriptive text, because you could do it with the descriptive text. The thing is, you would still have to, you would upload it basically onto the REDCap server here. So you would attach it, but it would only live in that field. So I could have attached this face icon to a descriptive text field. If I did it to a descriptive text field like this, it would only show up in this field. I wouldn't be able to use it anywhere else. And so that's why I like to use Imager and upload to Imager, because then as long as I have the URL for that image, I can put it anywhere I want. And I can resize it, and I can do whatever I want with it. So, you know, it's just something to be fun and be creative and kind of make these things a little more exciting, so they're not just boring forms. I think this one's for children, so, you know, something that's a little more attention getting.
Hey, can you, man, can you show the table, how you built the table for these?
Yeah. So let me just open up another field here. And so if you're starting with, it doesn't matter what you're in, I'll just do descriptive text because we don't want to have radio buttons or anything like that. So you'd first click on the rich text editor, and then in this menu option here, you have this table icon here. And if you click on it, you can select however many rows and columns you want. So you would just drag out what you would need and then just click on it. And that's how you would add a table automatically. And then if you click inside the tables, you can set cell properties. So you can set border colors, you can set background colors, and that would be for each cell. If you select, I think if you select all of them, it'll update all of them. And then you can go in here and you can see these are all it automatically adds all of the HTML for you. If you want to get rid of the border, you would just say, set that width to 0, and it would show up here as a dotted line, but you wouldn't see it when you viewed it. You could also go in here and change the border properties here. I believe for the border width, you would set it to 1. You could change it to dashed or dotted. You could also have, there's row, and anybody who's familiar with messing with tables in like Microsoft Word, you can insert rows before or after. You can insert columns before or after. You can cut, you can delete. So it's pretty robust here. It's, if you've used the ribbon in Microsoft Word, it's similar to that.
Can you show them how to merge cells, please?
Sure.
Because you have some, like when you build a table, you may have something at the top, and we talked about this with Colleen earlier.
Right.
This will kind of show her how to.
So this one's a little different because in the ribbon in Microsoft Word, you would be able to just merge, row. But the way this is, if I wanted so these are table rows. The way tables are structured in HTML is everything goes by row, and then within the row there's a table data cell, which is the column essentially. And so this whole group here is the first row, and then this would be the first cell, second cell, third cell, fourth cell to make up that column. Now, if I wanted, let's say, this whole row at the top to be one cell, what I could do is I could just add another table. It's kind of, it's not as elegant, but I'll show you. So if I just add another table here, and then if I go in here and just delete this and then just create one table row and one table cell that's 100%, you'll see here that it's on top, but it's not as elegant because it's, when REDCap renders this, they're probably going to put a space in between these two tables. So what I like to do is you would basically remove the 3 that you're not using, and you would set the width of this to 100. But what's going to happen is everything that applies to the first cell of a table, like the first column, gets passed to the other columns. So if I had a table, if this one was 100%, even though this one's 23%, it's going to be bound by this 100%. So what I have to do is I have to add this tag that's called colspan and equals 4. And what that does is that's saying this is one table data cell, and I want you to stretch it across 4 columns. And you can see here now that it's 4 columns across. And so let's say this one here, let's say I wanted these two to be 2 columns each. So what I would do is I would just break these up because I only need 2. I would set this to 50. And then I would have to go in here and add colspan. And now these span across. Now, if I have, let me show you here. So that's for column span. Now, let's say I wanted these to all, this to be 1 column instead of 4, or 1 row instead of 4 rows. This one's a little more difficult because when you have the columns, they're all within one table row. But when you want one row, the rows are broken up. So if I wanted this to be one row, there's 4 of them, or I'll do it with just 2 here because it'll be easier. If I just wanted these bottom 2 to be together, what I would have to do is remove one of these at the bottom. So this is the one that so basically what it is it's going to be the top row is going to have 4 columns, but the first row or the first column is going to stretch down. So really the second row is only going to have 3 columns and it's going to be pushed over, if that makes sense. So then I would put row span here equals 2, and I keep stealing that quote from here. If that makes sense. So basically what this is saying is I have 4 columns here and 3 columns here, but because I'm pushing this column down, the HTML is pushing this first column over. And it might help if I have text in here. So let me show you. So this is, we'll just do this. So you can see here that the way you're looking at it, it should be the second column, but it's really the first column. But because this row is taking up this column is taking up 2 row spaces, it's pushing that first column over to the right. And so that's why this is 1, 2, 3, so you really have to kind of think about how you want something organized. This would really be 2, 3, 4 if you're trying to keep your, columns together. And you can get as crazy as you want with this. When you start getting, like if we wanted the last 4 here to be 2 rows, we would just do the same thing here where we would add the row span. And then we would just get rid of this one here. If that makes sense.
So, Manny, if you highlight, like on that 3rd row, if you highlighted highlight all 4 and right click, can you not merge the cells?
Merge cells, there we go.
Yeah. So that's another way of going about it. I like the explanation of the behind the scenes, but now if we look at the HTML for that, it may show that just what you did.
Yeah.
So if somebody forgets, they can reference this.
That's good. I never knew that was there. I've been doing it all manually like this.
Well, I'm not sure that it isn't new, but I ran across it the other day. The place for those of you watching that it makes a big difference is when you're trying to embed fields. So that relatively new feature of being able to embed fields and give the same kind of effect that we were doing before with Shazam and making things side by side or whatever. Now, when you do it, you can just set your table up and create your cells the way you want by highlighting them and right-clicking and merging the cells and then, referencing. I don't really want to go into embedding since that's a different discussion, but yeah. We already did a video, didn't we, on that?
Yeah. And we, this is just to show kind of what Terry's talking about, even though I think this one is still using Shazam. Or do we change that?
No, go to the survey settings and take a look at, oh, it's not on that page.
Registration.
Yeah, it's.
Let me.
There you go. And it's the fourth one down, registration, fourth one. Yep, there. But look at it in a survey.
I gotcha. Well, it's not going to let me go to.
You should be able to open it within that, I think. Yeah, click on, oh, yeah. Yeah, try that. No, it won't show.
Well, here, here we go. I'll just add a new record.
Yeah.
And it should let me open up.
There you go. Yeah. See, so this we used to have to do all with HTML, and Manny did all of this, and it looks beautiful. But now you can build all this without HTML using the embedded field option that in your design mode shows up on the right and sort of walks you through how to do it. But he did a really good video that's on our website about how to embed fields and make something look like this without having to go through all the HTML hoops.
Yeah, and you can see here that these cells don't line up. Like this middle name cell breaks in between these two. And so what I did in Shazam is I usually use like a 20 column grid, and then I can break things up how I need to. So this is like 8, or it's like 6, 7, and 6, or 8, 6, and 8, or however it is. So this will break up in the 20. Here, these are just 10 and 10. This one's like 4 and 6, but you can see here how it, when I do it with like that, it gives me more flexibility. So what I would do in here is, I mean, it's easier if you're doing it this way because you can just, if this is 10 by 10 or 10 by 4, I can just grab, 5 of these and just merge them like this. And it's so much quicker than having to build it in Shazam. And then if this is, I want this to be three columns, then I would just do, 4, 3, 3, 4, 3 like this. And it's just so much quicker to build this kind of structure out using the rich text editor than it would be to do it in Shazam, because I have to code all that in Shazam here. I have to do this all manually like this. And I have to do the col spans here, and I have to type all this in manually, whereas in the rich text editor, you're just clicking and selecting, and this HTML is all being built for you. So it's really nice.
Sweet. So watch the embedded, right there on the right on his screen, you can see it says how to embed a field elsewhere. It's very, very easy to do. And so you can make your forms look like what you're seeing here very easily, and put the variables in, through embedding. So watch the video. Okay, thanks.